Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Hi, how are you all doing? Okay, so in today's video, by popular demand, and also it is something that I've wanted to do for a long time, I'm going to look at the Madeleine McCann case. Oof, I mean, it's a hell of a case, isn't it? It's very divisive. Lots of people believe that Madeleine was abducted. Other people believe that the parents, something happened, that it was the parents' fault. There's so many different theories about Madeleine McCann. It's almost become one of those sort of urban legends. I mean, it's a true story, obviously, but it's one of those topics, one of those cases that will be discussed over and over again. And will we ever know what really happened to little Madeleine McCann? In this video, I'm just going to give my opinion on it. I am going to go into the facts, obviously. I'm not going to, because, you know, when I started looking into this case, as you know, there is so much, because it's gone up, because I mean, it happened in, when was it actually? It happened in 2007. So, you know, we're looking at a lot of years of things that have happened. But what I'm going to pick out in this video are the things, to me, that I think are relevant to the opinion that I have on this case. And I think we all have an opinion. You know, I expect we'd be told not to speculate, but, you know, as I've said before, it's human nature to speculate. Everyone's got an opinion. There's not much evidence, you know, it all goes back to the old evidence. That's why no charge, you know, there hasn't been, anyway, I'll get into that later, because you probably know that not that long ago there's been developments in the Madeleine McCann case, but nothing has been, you know, finally, nobody's been formally charged. So I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in this case, in my opinion, because it's been a famous case. You get, you get all sorts. You get people claiming they've done it, people saying they've got information that turns out to be wrong, and it just wastes police time. And I think a lot of that has happened over the years as well. So I'm just going to look at the things that I think are relevant to the opinion that I've got. And it is just an opinion. Doesn't have to be your opinion. I hope you'll listen to it and take it on board, and then you'll use it in your own evaluation of what you think might have happened. And you might say, oh my God, no, that's ridiculous. Or you might say, oh yeah, that sounds, you know, I don't mind. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just presenting what I think. And then you'll make your mind up, won't you? So before I get into this case, I just wanted to mention about the live stream, my first live stream that I did on Friday night, and I just wanted to talk about it, and I think it went well. You know, I was very, very nervous, I can assure you, beforehand, and you know, but I enjoyed it. You know, it was just like having a chat with your friends, and you know, yeah. And thank you, you're all very kind in chat, and didn't get too out of hand or anything. I mean, the thing is, I'm only a small channel. Hopefully I'm grown, that's my intention. I want to grow as a channel, and you know, I've got so many ideas of things that I want to do. I could almost, you know, spend 24 hours sort of researching cases. There's so many cases that over the years I've been interested in, that I'd like to present, you know, my own opinion and what I think might have happened in these cases. Some of my preference is for solved cases, because obviously unresolved cases, they're quite sort of, you know, you're left with this feeling of unsatisfaction, aren't you, at the end, because you don't know what's happened to them yet. But see, I'm waffling. I do tend to waffle because I do feel like I'm just having a chat, and you know, we're having a chat, and so I go off on tangents, so I'm sorry about that. But so what I wanted to say, so let's get back to what I wanted to say. There was a lot of things that I was going to do during that chat that just went completely out of my head once I got going, because I'm a spontaneous. I'm not reading from a script. I'm spontaneous. I make little notes and then I try to be spontaneous. I don't want to be reading off an auto cue, you know, like a robot. I don't want to do that. That's not my way, and that's not how I want to come over. So, of course, as soon as the live chat started, as soon as it started getting busy, I just sort of lost sight of everything that I was supposed to be saying and just went with the flow. And what I should have said at the very beginning, because of course the time to say these things is at the beginning or the end, when there's not so many people on the chat, because it starts off slowly. What I've realised, it starts off quite slowly, and then more people join in. You know, I didn't have millions of people on there. I think the maximum was about 97 to 100 people, but that's a lot of people to try and keep up with on the chat. Because I don't like to miss what people say or miss saying hello to people, but it was virtually impossible at one point. And I know that when people make a point in the chat, they want to be recognised, you know, and I hope you chat to each other in the chat, because there are sometimes I just can't respond, because once I respond to that and then I miss another 3, so it's quite difficult. But at the beginning and the end it's easier because it's quieter. So what I should have said at the beginning of the chat, of the live stream, was to tell you about the super chats. You can do super, if you particularly want if you definitely want me to see your point and read it out, it has to be a super chat, because that's or a buy me a coffee, which sounds like I'm asking for money, and it's not. There's no other way. What other way can it be brought to my attention, you know, actually on screen? Because most of the time I'm just talking, trying to look at the chat, trying to say what I'm on there to say, because I had a presentation to do. So I never even mentioned to anyone about the super. Probably a lot of you know about super chats because you go on other channels, etc. But there's super chat or buy me a coffee. I don't know where you find it on your side. Maybe you know better than me. I'll try and make it more easily accessible. But I think it's only like, you know, if you particularly want to make a point, you want me to address a point, that's the only way I can guarantee that I will see that question, that comment. It's just impossible, because hopefully, as I say, I'm only a small channel at the moment, and I'm hoping to grow. If that at those points when I had 100 people in chat, it was difficult to keep up with what everyone was saying, and I don't want to hurt people by making them think I've ignored their chat. I don't ignore anyone. I might not agree with you, and if anyone puts anything offensive in the chat, I will remove them. You know, that's just, I'm going to do that because I haven't got time to address trolls, I suppose. And touch wood, I don't have any trolls at the moment. I don't want any, but I'm just trying to explain to you now. So the next time I do a live chat, also the other thing you can do, if you want a comment or a question to actually definitely be seen, I will always try and give you notice of when I'm going to do a live stream. So you can then send me a comment or a message before the live stream starts, and I will have those to hand, and I will definitely address those. So that's another way you can do it. But if it's in the middle of the stream, the only way I will definitely, I'm not saying I won't see it if you don't do it like that, by a super chat or a coffee. I may see it, but I can't guarantee it. Okay, so either send me a question before, or if it's during the stream, unfortunately, that is the only way that I can be guaranteed to see it, because it will, you know, jump out at me. Yeah, so I just wanted to say about that, and there's lots of people suggested different cases to talk about. You know, I've got a list of at least 15 cases at the moment that I definitely want to talk about, and it's nice, it's exciting that I can do that, but of course there's only so many hours in the day, and I do have a day job. And that's the other thing that I wanted to mention. So the purpose of these coffees and super chats, if people contribute, my goal, if you like, I would like to be able to take 2 days out, because at the moment I do this channel as, well, it's a hobby, I suppose. It's something that I'm interested in, and I've got more and more interest in it, and it's getting bigger. And I'd like to take 2 days out of my week, because at the moment I teach 5 days a week. I'd like to take 2 days out of that week to just devote to this channel. Also update my video making equipment, etc., which, you know, as you know, is not brilliant. So yeah, I'd like to take that and use it to develop the channel, to have more time to maybe visit scenes. There's so many ideas of places that I'd like to go and show you the actual, you know, because we read about, that's what I think has been good in the, you know, Nicola Bulley case. I like the Sky News walk that they did. You know, people can criticise Sky News or any other YouTuber who goes and does these things. I like that because I like to see where it actually happened, and it gives you a feeling. You know, you get more, you know, to actually see the steps that supposedly were taken that morning by Nicola and Willow. So that's I'd like to do that as well. So it would give me time, free up time that I could do that. Anyway, so that's that. The other thing, I'm just overwhelmed by how many people have bought my Confessions of a Spanish Teacher book. Not only that, left good reviews or sent me lovely comments, say how much they've enjoyed it. I can't even tell you how much that means. It means so much to me, because this is, you know, this is my life really. This is how I ended up here in Spain, how I became a Spanish teacher, events in my life right from when I was a teenager really, that have contributed to who I am today and where I am today and what my life is today. Some events were happy, some weren't so happy, and some people have said that it's made them cry, it's made them laugh. That's the whole intention of this book. This is exactly what it says on the back. I hope to make you angry at least once. I hope to make you cry at least twice, and I hope to make you laugh many times. And that's it, to evoke emotions in other people, you know, so that they can empathise with you. That's the most we can do, isn't it? And the views in here, as always, any view that I give of anything is my view. I don't expect you to think the same. I don't want to, you know, I'm an open book. I am an open book really, so I quite often say what I think. And I hope I don't offend anyone who doesn't think that way. That's not my intention at all. My intention is just to really be honest about me. So it's not to upset you or to, but if I can make you laugh, make you cry, make you angry, if I can affect your emotions, that's good, because it means that you're empathizing with me. Yeah, so thank you so much. And also, you know, definitely seen an increase in the sales of my Break the Language Barrier series, the Spanish books from level 1 to 5. A lot of you have sent me comments saying, oh, you've bought my book, subscribed to my Spanish channel, started learning Spanish, which is brilliant, because you know Spanish is such an important language. If you can speak English and Spanish, you can travel anywhere in the world and be understood. It's one of the most fast-growing languages. Apart from the fact it's beautiful, and another reason why you should learn Spanish is learning a language helps slow down Alzheimer's, dementia. You know, keep your brain active. As you're getting older, anytime over 50 really, you should still be learning something, and learning a language is one of the best ways of staving off Alzheimer's or dementia. Okay, so that's it. That's the housekeeping. I think that's it. It's everything I've got written down. Yeah, so the aim of this channel, any money that I earn from this channel, is to release 2 days from my Spanish classes that I can devote to making videos on this channel. Okay, so let's start with this case of Madeleine McCann. Now, Madeleine, she would be 19 now. Gosh, 19. In fact, she's got a birthday coming up, because she was born on the 12th of May 2003. So it's not that long to her 20th birthday. And these must be very sad anniversaries for everyone involved, you know, even for the family, even though in my eyes, you know, you'll find out as we go along, I do think Madeleine's parents do know exactly what's happened to Madeleine. Let me just say that right here and now. So if you don't, and you don't want to see that, and you think I'm stupid or I'm this, that or the other, it's probably best to stop watching now, because that is how I feel. And through this video, what I'm going to present really is just the reasons why I feel that. I'm not trying to attack them. That's just my opinion. It's just an opinion. Okay, so she was born on May the 12th, Madeleine, in 2003. As I say, she would be 19 now. And she was born in Leicester in the UK. And she has two twins, but how would you say a brother and a sister who are twins, Amelie and Sean, who were born a year later. So they will be 18 now. You know, I wonder what they make of it all. You know, teenagers, it's not easy at the best of times. But I don't know how they're protected from, you know, do they know? I mean, I'd imagine with the internet these days, how could you stop them from finding out things about the case? And I presume at some point Kate and Gerry have sat down and talked to them and prepared them for this. They can't have just not told them anything, and then for them to find out of someone else. I would assume, but of course I don't know, I would assume that in some way Gerry and Kate have prepared Amelie and Sean for, you know, what they're going to find out as they get older. Maybe just talked about it naturally all the time, so as they grow up it doesn't seem like, you know, sometimes I think that's the best way, isn't it? If you don't tell people anything, then you think, oh, I'll tell them when they're 16 or 14, or, you know, when they're adopted, or that, you know, whatever, something that they didn't know, and you think, oh, I'll tell them an age when they're ready for it. What age are they ready for it? You know, I think it'd be very difficult to decide what age somebody would be ready for something. So maybe the best way is to just always talk about it as a normal thing right from, you know, when they're young, so they never have this shock horror moment where they suddenly hear this story. It's just something they've always known. They might not have known all the details. I'm not saying sit them down and tell them all the details. Just saying talk about it normally, and then when it does come out, it's not a massive shock, a massive surprise. So excuse me, I'm just going to have a little bit of agua, a little bit of water. So Madeleine disappeared in Praia da Luz, which is a holiday resort in Portugal. I think probably most of you watching this video will know about this case, some of you won't. So I'm not going to go into the exact ins and outs of every moment of this case, because as I say, it's gone on for such a long time and there's so many ins and outs, but I'm going to give the basic framework and especially the reasons why I think what I think. So she was 3 years old. Now let's bear that in mind. You know, we've seen the pictures of her, 3 years old, and her twins, her siblings, they were 2. So these were very little children. They weren't 10, which is still little, I know, but it's not as little as 2 and 3. They're tiny children, toddlers, really, both of them, all of them. So, you know, why were they left alone? This is my question. But anyway, so yeah, they disappeared on the 3rd of May 2007 from a holiday complex in Portugal in Praia da Luz. Now, this is my first issue with this whole case. Gerry and Kate are doctors. They are what you would call middle class, I suppose, you know. Gerry was, I don't know if he's still working, maybe I need to look that up, but a surgeon, you know, so good reputations, middle class, you know. I really do feel, because what they did, they went on holiday, there was quite a lot of people on holiday, they were on holiday with their friends, and what they would do at night would be put the children to bed and go down to the restaurant and eat without the children. Yeah? Now, that's tempting, I understand that. I mean, you know, when my son was young, me and my friends, we used to go out. We would go always to child-friendly restaurants. There's one restaurant in particular we used to go to. It had a little park, but in the middle of the restaurant, so the children couldn't leave there without actually walking past you. So it wasn't like the park was outside and you wouldn't see if somebody came up and started talking to you. What if the park was right there? You were sitting around it and you could look out the window and watch. So it was a great place to for us to go with our children. We'd go, quite a few of us, quite a few children. Take the children's colouring books, etc. And as what's the word I'm looking for? As technology changed, they'd take their Nintendo with them. So, you know, and we would be there all day. You know, we would have, it was great. It was great for us. It was great for the kids. They were occupied. They were pleased, you know, with what they could do. They could go in the park. They could do their colouring. They could go on their Nintendos. But they were safe, and we could have a nice meal in peace, you know, and chat with each other without worrying where our children were. Certainly would not leave them at home, but anyway. Gerry and Kate did leave these 3 children in the apartment. So, now, I think they had like holiday brain. I talk about this, you know, I live in Spain, and a lot of people who come out here on holiday, they do things that they would never do in Manchester, for example, or wherever they come from in the UK or anywhere around the world. It's like you think you're on holiday, nothing can happen. You can't get robbed, or you can't get mugged, or you know, you can leave your door open, nobody will go in and steal your handbag, or they will, you know. In fact, in some holiday places, of course, you're more likely to get robbed because people are specifically targeting tourists because, you know, that's what they do. They know you'll have money, you might have cameras, phones, you know, iPads with you, things that they can sell on quickly. So, yes, I do think people get a holiday head. Sometimes they go away and they think, oh, you know, it's completely safe because I'm on holiday and the sun's shining. Somebody actually even said to me once, that I bumped into on, you know, I just got chatting to someone on the beach. 2 couples are out here on holiday, and one of the women actually said to me, oh, you don't get illness here, do you? It's just like, don't we? You know, when you go, Spain is like any other country. It's not just about holidays. You know, there are you know, sometimes I think British people be a bit sniffy about Spain. It's like, oh, well, you know, they need our money and it's tourism. Spain's more than just tourism. Those are just like the holiday spots. Yes, you know, they are reliant on tourism, but not just from Britain, of course, from all over the world. Everybody wants to come to Spain on holiday, not just British people. So, and it'd be the same in Portugal or any of these places. They're going there for the sun. And any country that doesn't have regular sun will want to come, you know, Swedish, Icelandic people, Scandinavian, Norwegian, etc. Everybody wants to come to Spain. But the thing that you've always got to remember is just because you're on holiday doesn't mean that bad things can't happen. Bad things can happen and do happen. You know, it's just a place like anywhere else. Anything you wouldn't do in your hometown, like you wouldn't leave your child and go off and have a meal for 4 hours. You don't do it here either, you know. Spanish people don't do it. They take their children with them, of course. They have a different culture here, so children are welcome in restaurants. It would be exactly the same in Portugal. Those children weren't at that restaurant, not because the restaurant didn't want them there, but because the McCanns didn't want them there to interfere with their adult evening. So that's the first thing. And, you know, the comment that Gerry made, where he said, oh, it's just like dining in your garden. No, it wasn't. I mean, it was nothing. They must have I mean, how could it be just like dining in your garden? They must have a big house. Well, I know they do have now, but they must have had a big house to say that. Because it wasn't, you had to come out of the apartment, down the stairs, round the corner. You know, it was out of sight. It wasn't in sight. So that was the first thing. Well, it wasn't the first thing actually, but that was one of the things that I heard him say, and I just thought, no, it's not. It's not like dining in your garden. With your child in the bedroom where you can actually see the bedroom window, you know, it's just not. So it's not true. The first time I ever heard Gerry's voice, I remember I was here in Spain, I had the TV on just in the background, I didn't know anything about this case, or I might have sort of vaguely heard about it but not took much notice. And then he came on, and his voice, as soon as he spoke, I just thought, there's something about this. And all right, I know these are only feelings, we've talked about this before, you know, being an empath doesn't make you an expert, you know. I'm not saying I am an expert, I'm just saying how it made me feel. And he made a few strange comments. One time when I was listening, I heard him nearly say, about when they found Madeleine's body, and then he stopped straight away and said, when they found Madeleine. Now, he knew, he 100% certain to me, both he and Kate always knew Madeleine would not be found. They knew she was dead. That's why they weren't more upset. They were upset, of course they were upset. I'm sure they were upset that she was dead. But they knew she hadn't been abducted. You know, nothing was happening to her then. She died, and it was a tragic, I believe it was a tragic accident. I'm sure they didn't kill her deliberately. But she died one way or another. Like the policeman said the Portuguese policeman said in his book, he was convinced that Madeleine had had an accident and died, and then the McCanns set about covering it up. And I agree with him. So let's just go back to that night and what happened. So they went down to dine, and then periodically they would go back to check on the children, wouldn't they? Now, apparently when Kate went back, Madeleine was gone. She was gone. Just disappeared. And so Kate came running down saying, they've taken her. That's a strange assumption to make, isn't it, immediately? I think if well, it wouldn't happen, but if I went up there and Madeleine had disappeared, my first assumption would be that she was wandering around the complex somewhere looking for her mum and her dad. I wouldn't think, they've taken her. And who's they? You know, it's a strange thing to say. The other thing is, if Madeleine had been abducted by paedophile, as they're saying, and they left 2 other children there, I mean, they wouldn't have been difficult to carry at the end of the day, so they're only tiny, so it just doesn't add up. None of it adds up to me. Okay, so Madeleine has completely disappeared. This is where I do think mistakes were made by the Portuguese police. And I think that might happen here in my little village if it happened, because when you are in a place where there is hardly any crime, you know, it's different if you're in a place where there's a lot of crime and the police are, you know, maybe a city where the police are a bit more switched on. Maybe this is a bit like what happened in Nicola's case, though of course the Lancashire police cover a massive area and I'm sure they're well used to quite a lot of crime. But when those police first, I think they probably didn't expect it to be foul play. They probably thought, you know, there's probably nothing like that has ever happened there. And they were too lax, I think, in their, you know, protecting the scene, etc. I think it's another example of how the police can be easily led astray by middle-class people who seem very respectable, etc. You know, these two, again, could you imagine if sitting in that restaurant, leaving their children in the apartment while they sat down and had, you know, 6 bottles of wine or whatever, if that they were like couples or even single parents from council estates, do you really think they wouldn't have been reviled right through the whole press? Nobody would have stuck up for them. Everybody would have said, oh, you know, that's shame, you know, there would have been headlines like, oh, shameless. You know, there would have been aspersions cast just for the fact that they were single parents or they were from council estates and not doctors, you know, who, oh, you know, doctors wouldn't do anything like this. Well, of course they would, because unfortunately there's good and bad. You've only got to look at Dr. Shipman or, you know, there are doctors that have done bad things. And my sister-in-law, she worked in social services all her career, and she told me that the worst case of abuse child abuse she ever saw, they were doctors who did it. You know, they're just people. Just because they're a doctor doesn't make them a saint. You know, they are people, and they're a good and bad. Like I was talking about the psychic, Jason, they're a good and bad in all walks of life. It doesn't matter if you're from a council estate, if you're a doctor, if you're a king, if you're a politician, some are good, some are bad. That's how it is. So to me, I think this is a bit of a smokescreen that was sort of put around the McCanns, you know, that they couldn't possibly have done anything wrong because they're doctors. Okay, now then. So, the next things that I found strange, I'm not going to go into all the interviews that they did. A lot of people have done that, body language, etc. Though I think they are telling, you know, you can tell they're sort of so careful of what they say. Everything's scripted, everything's prepared. As soon as the McCanns were declared arguidos in Portugal, you know, declared suspects, they were gone. You know, they were full of the media. It's this, oh yeah, they want to talk to the media, until it started looking suspicious, and then they don't want to talk to the media anymore, at least not in Portugal. They want to get back home where people are more sympathetic towards them, because here in Portugal and here in Spain and in Maine, everybody felt that the McCanns had done something to Madeleine. Okay, so yeah, the apartment was 180 feet away from where they were having dinner. 180 feet, 55 metres. It wasn't like they were in the garden, not unless their garden's like Buckingham Palace or something. It was nothing like them being in the garden. So, the next things that I started to feel suspicious about. So imagine, you're in a holiday, but now I know why they wouldn't have wanted to leave Portugal immediately, because they would have hoped that if anything, you know, in the first sort of weeks, etc., they're hoping, you know, if they were genuine, they would be hoping for a good result and that Madeleine would come back or somebody would return her to them. That's not what makes me suspicious. What makes me suspicious is they were leaving Amelie and Sean in the Guarderia, in the, you know, the same children's club that they'd been leaving all the 3 of them in. They carried on leaving those children in that children's club, even though they'd said that, oh, well, maybe Madeleine had been seen around the resort and sort of, you know, targeted. Now, I'm telling you, I mean, I've only got one child, but if I had more than one child and one of those children went missing, you would not get the other 2 children away from me. You know, it's like, so your child has gone missing, presumed abducted from a holiday resort with a children's club where you've been leaving the children. I mean, when did they spend time with the children? I mean, they left them at the children club all day and then they were in their apartment on their own at night. Anyway, so one of your children has been supposedly abducted and you carry on leaving the other 2 who are only 2 years old in this same holiday club in the place where your other child has been abducted from. Nah, you just wouldn't do that, would you? Would you? Tell me what you think. What do you think? you know, while they sort of were going around doing their media interviews or whatever, so their children were still in the holiday club. Could have been the person that owned the holiday club that was guilty, you know, as far as they knew. So why did they do that? Why did they do that? Because they knew that nothing was going to happen to them. That's why they did it. They knew there was nothing to worry about. Now, I do believe whatever happened to Madeleine was probably an accident. I don't believe, you know, I have sympathy for them. I don't believe that it was a deliberate, it was probably, you know, I don't know, an accident, fell down the stairs. Some people say maybe they were giving them like sedatives to help them so that they won't wake up and they gave too much. Could have been any of those things, but I'd like to think it wasn't deliberate. And I'm sure there was a big panic. There was a big sit down, what we're going to do. We've got 2 other children. Now I understand that as well. They have 2 other children. So if Kate or whoever, I'm leaning towards Kate because that's what the policeman, in the policeman's opinion, it was something that Kate had done by accident. But it could have been Gerry, I don't know. But I bet there was a big talk about, so those children would lose their mother, wouldn't they? Because, you know, they just didn't want to take, that's my opinion. I reckon they sat down, they talked about this, said we can't have, you know, Kate being taken away or arrested or whatever. Also their reputation would be damaged, career. You know, there's a lot in there and they're thinking, what can we do? What can we do to make this go away? Well, not exactly go away, or to... This is my hypothesis. This is my opinion. And the reasons I think it, the reasons that I said, I feel that if they left their children in the Guarderia, they weren't really worried that anything was going to happen to them. They went off on the Oprah Winfrey show. Gerry went off. I mean, come on, Oprah Winfrey show. And I'm not talking about a couple of years later, you know, to talk about it, to refresh people. I'm talking about right at the moment that it happened, on the Oprah Winfrey show, over to meet the Pope. Now, I don't know about Gerry, but no, Kate is a Catholic. I think Kate, you know, in Catholicism, if you confess to something you've done, you're forgiven. So I think that's how Kate resolved it in her head. Now, whether she'll be able to resolve it forever for her whole life, I don't know. I don't know. Unless somebody somewhere will know something, and unless one day somebody actually comes out and says this is what happened, we'll probably never have this case resolved. Or unless Madeleine's body is discovered, because of course poor little Madeleine, her body, which would just be skeletised by now, hasn't ever been found. So that's a big problem as well, isn't it? Right, okay, so I've lost my train of thought as I do. Oh yeah, they were out jogging, they were going around their normal routine. You know, when you see parents whose children have gone missing, like April Jones's parents, or Sarah's parents, because she was also Sarah Payne, and her mother I think is also called Sarah, and the father who eventually died of alcoholism because he just couldn't cope. When you look at those kind of parents, the guilt that they feel, I mean, the McCanns have never shown any guilt of leaving their child on its own in an apartment with 2 other children aged only 2. They've never really said, oh yeah, we're so sorry we did that. You look at Sarah Payne, she felt guilty just for letting her child walk home with older siblings, you know, which everybody's probably done, and you know, she couldn't, she's like haunted by that. April Jones, you know, in fact, you would be haunted whether you'd done anything or not, because you would imagine you were guilty. We've never seen that with the McCanns, have we? So these are the reasons that I feel as I feel. And then, of course, they started their appeals, and they were very clever. They brought in a media sort of expert to someone who'd been involved in political campaigns, didn't they? Clarence Mitchell, to control their media image. I mean, come on. Who does that, really? Who does that? And they raised fortunes. And yeah, they raised fortunes, and where's that money gone? You know, really, where has that money gone? And then I noticed what started happening was all these little stories here and there. Oh, Madeleine's been seen there, or it's a possibility that this person is a child molester. They were in the area at the time, and that's still going on now, isn't it, with this latest story about the German guy. Now, don't get wrong, he's a piece of crap. He is a piece of crap, but he didn't kill Madeleine, I don't think. I don't think there's any proof that he killed Madeleine. But yes, he's a horrible person. But you can't, lots of people are horrible people, you can't blame them for every case that happens. So, yeah. Now, I'm glad in a way that they have, you know, created a secure future for Amelie and Sean. You know, that's good. So, but, you know, they had a secure future anyway, really. So, yeah, this money stuff, it's too much money, but I don't know. So, a lot of people believe they're innocent, so we have to respect their views as well. If you're out there and you're watching this and you say, oh my God, that's an absolute load of rubbish, what you're talking about, that's fine. Maybe it is. I'm just about my instincts, my feelings, and the reasons for these feelings. You know, they're sort of jaunting around the globe, loving every minute of the media attention. They're leaving your still leaving your children in the same, you know, in the care of other people, even though your 3-year-old daughter has supposedly been kidnapped. These are things that don't make sense to me at all. Going jogging, following your normal routine, jogging around continuing your holiday. I mean, come on, ice cold you must be, whether you've done it or not. Now, of course, Gerry was a surgeon. I say, I don't know if he's still practicing or not. Surgeons are ice cold. Of course they are, they have to be. You know, who would you rather be operated on? Someone who is highly emotional, empath like me, or someone who's ice cold like Gerry? Well, Gerry, of course, because you want someone to be performing that operation on you who won't, you know, get involved in it, if you like, emotionally invested in it. They've got to be, you know, detached. You know, they just have to be. I think Kate's not as detached, but they both had too much to lose. It's all about them. You can see it's all about them. You know, who does that remind you of? It's all about them. The children are incidental to their lives. They have the children because that's what people do. They have children. Oh, but oh no, we don't want them coming and having dinner with us, or you know, we don't want them round the pool with us. We'll put them in the children's club. We want children because that's what people do, but we don't actually want to have to look after our children. Anyway, that's how it feels, and it is difficult. I expect it's really difficult with 3 children, and you know, stories are that Madeleine was difficult. You know, that's what Kate had said in her diaries. Children can be difficult, can't they? Anyway, so I feel like I'm not going into the nuts and bolts of things, but I don't think I need to, do I? I mean, if you want to know more about the actual case and the nuts and bolts of things, then you can just Google it, really. I mean, there's so much information about the McCann case available. So if you haven't heard of this case before, and maybe you think but the basic thing of the case is this family was on holiday. The the mother and father would go out every night to eat with their friends at a tapas restaurant, leave their children in the apartment, which was not as if it was in like having dinner in your garden. The apartment was 180 feet away, up some stairs and round the corner. And then one night, one of the children just disappeared. Now, we don't know what happened. We don't know where they ended up depositing Madeleine's remains. They've never been found. Every now and again, the British police go out, don't they, and search. They searched not long ago down some mine shafts, etc. I think, the British police do think there is a case to answer. Again, but as time goes on, it gets more and more difficult. Now, one other thing that I wanted to bring it, because as I was investigating it again, or researching it again, just to remind me, do you know or do you remember that during this case had another victim, and I'm going to call her a victim because she was a victim. Obviously there's always been a lot of diverse opinions about this case. It's so like the Nicola Bulley case though, really, isn't it? Because there was a lot of attention on social media. And social media wasn't as popular then as it is now. Twitter, etc., Facebook pages about whether you thought, did you think the McCanns had done it or didn't you, really? Again, divided attention. And there was a lady called Brenda Leyland, who was 63 years old, and from Leicester, which is strange, because that's actually where Madeleine was born, and she was described as a troll, because what happened was investigations were made. I don't really know why, probably instigated by the McCanns, into like people who were tweeting, different things about the case, etc., saying that they thought they had a case to answer. And apparently this lady, under the name on Twitter of @Sweepyface, had made 400 tweets about the McCanns. Now, apparently not all these, sometimes it was to defend them for certain things. Like, for me, I would defend them in the sense that I understand if they did do it, cover it up, I do understand why they did it. Because, they did it because they had 2 other children to think about, and they've got their reputation to think about. That's basically why I did. So I don't know what you can't find. Well, I couldn't find the tweets. They were once sort of public, but they seem to have disappeared. But sometimes apparently she was defending them. Sometimes it was attacking them and saying, and a lot of it was just retweets, really, of what other people had said. She would retweet it, comment on it. So why she was singled out, I really don't know. Does anyone know why she would be singled out as a specific troll when there was probably loads of trolls? At the end of the day, the McCanns invited that. It was them that went public. It was them that created the websites. It was them who were doing the interviews. This is the thing, if you go out there and you do interviews, you put yourself out there, you're going to get looked at. Some people are going to tweet nice things about you, and some people are going to tweet horrible things about you. Even in my small experience of social media, and I've got like a reasonable social media presence but nothing mega, you do sometimes get people say horrible things. You have to either put up with that or come off it. That's a choice that you make. That's a choice that you make. You can't just expect everyone to agree with you, and if they don't agree with you, call the police. Don't go out there. If you don't want people to disagree with you, don't put your opinions out there in the first place. And as I always say on this channel, I'm happy to get comments, just respectful comments. I have no reason to feel that she made, to think that she made she said what she thought, but were they disrespectful? To me, a disrespectful comment is somebody saying, "Oh, you stupid idiot," and worse words than that. Not saying, "Oh, well, actually, I don't agree with that," because that's not disrespectful. Disrespectful is when you like actually insult people and say nasty things about them and are not respectful to them. That is, do you see what I'm saying? That's completely different from, you know, actually disagreeing respectfully with someone. So she put out 400 tweets, and I think the McCanns were preparing some sort of backlash against these trolls, but I don't know why this poor lady, well, I say poor lady, maybe she was a horrible woman, I don't know, I doubt it, but her name was Brenda Leyland, and she was 63 years old, and for some reason she came to the attention of Sky News, and I'll tell you in a minute what happened. So, poor Brenda, I mean, what do you think? Do you think it was bad what she did? Do you think she should have been taken to court for retweeting or tweeting about McCann's? Let me know what you think. We do it, don't we? We speculate about cases. We've speculated about Nicola's partner. I'm speculating now, I suppose, about the McCanns. Should I go to court for that, or am I entitled to my opinion on just what I think for the reasons that I think it? Anyway, so on the 4th of October 2014, Martin Brunt from Sky News had tracked down where Brenda lived. So not quite sure how they did that or why they went to the trouble of doing that. I'm not sure why they went particularly to her house and not to anybody else's. She won't have been the only person who was tweeting, that's for sure. There'll have been loads of people tweeting about the McCanns, so not really quite sure why she was actually, maybe one day I should do a video on that. Why was she, you know, actually picked out and Martin Brunt turned up at her house? I mean, it wouldn't be very nice, would it? You sort of, she comes out of her front door and there he is, there's Martin Brunt and Sky News. And he said to her, there's Martin Brunt and a cameraman, or woman, I don't know. And he said, why are you using your Twitter account to attack the McCanns? Why was that news as well? You know, why are the McCanns so, you know, come on. How many famous people are attacked on their Twitter accounts? Loads. Look at Gary Lineker recently, or, you know, all politicians. There's racial abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's all sort of abuse thrown around on Twitter. Twitter is, you know, not a nice place. You know, people do sort of fling around accusations, etc. So why was this lady particularly singled out, I wonder? Seems strange to me. Maybe she was just the easiest one for them to find. I don't know. So he said to her, why are you using your Twitter account to attack the McCanns? And she said, well, I'm entitled to. Well, she is entitled to. You're entitled to have an opinion. Gosh, the things I've read recently about Nicola Bulley, etc., on Twitter, TikTok, all those things. You know, people say ridiculous things sometimes, but they don't get arrested or they don't get a dossier prepared to send to Scotland Yard, which is then what he said to her. Are you aware that your tweets are contained in a dossier that has been passed to Scotland Yard? And she said, that's fair enough. When she was on her way out then, when she went back, he was still there, and she asked him to come in, and they had a 30-minute conversation in the house, where I think she said it's not a criminal offence, it's just her opinion. I think she had actually did tell him that she'd suffered from depression, etc. Anyway, I think, was it 3 days later, she asked someone to look after her cat, and she deleted herself in a Leicester hotel. Went to a hotel and self-disappeared. And of course, you can imagine, well, there was an inquest, just like there has been or is being at the moment with Nicola. The inquest, Martin Brunt had to go and give evidence. Apparently he was devastated. I don't know, was he? I mean, they just care about news, don't they? They don't really care about people's feelings. And her son said she was stubborn and proud, and she would not be able to stand to for people to think bad of her. So there's another victim in this case. What do you think about that? Now, what I'd like you to tell me in comments, because I'm going to finish it, because I feel like I haven't gone into all the nuts and bolts of the McCann case, but I'm just telling you my opinion. I think all these sightings, and then this woman saying she was Madeleine McCann recently, and then the guy who they say, the German guy they said killed her, and that, until something different is presented to me, evidence, I will always feel that this was something that happened, that was an accident. I think the Portuguese policeman's book was spot on. Why would he, well, you might think he's doing it for money. I don't think he was. That was his opinion on the fact he knows more. It's like the Nicola Bulley case. There's so much more probably that we don't know that has been withheld. We only get to know what the police or the mainstream media want us to know. And so until someone presents anything differently to me, I won't change my mind. That's my opinion. And it's probably been influenced by the fact that I was in Spain at the time, and the media frenzy in Spain was absolutely ridiculous. I think because we're so close to Portugal, and they were just convinced, of the parents' guilt, which I know doesn't mean anything. Sometimes people are convinced of someone's guilt, and I mean, a good example of that's a case I'd like to do, is the case of Joanna, and I can't remember her surname, who was killed by her neighbour, but everybody thought that their landlord had done it. There was a big media frenzy about that, and everyone sort of virtually said he was guilty when there was nothing to prove that he was guilty, just because he was a little bit of an oddball. Again, it comes out, he's a little bit of an oddball. He's not, these respectable doctors. He's a little bit eccentric, typical. Is it Christopher Jeffries? Yeah, that's a case that needs looking at. It was terrible what they did to his reputation, but again, it's all on perception for me. If you fit into a certain perception, like, you're sort of white, professional, middle class, you'll find it much easier to get away with things than if you're sort of a little bit eccentric person as he was. And, and yet, and when I think these cases have helped I think the media is a bit more careful now, to be honest, than they were. Sky News should be much more careful after this with Martin Brunt and that poor lady. Maybe she shouldn't have sent those tweets, but come on, why was she singled out? Why was she singled out? But from all the people that tweeted that I've seen it on Facebook all the time, people saying that they think the McCanns are guilty. Nothing happens to him, so why her? But yeah, so what I'd like to know is, what's your opinion? What did you know about this case? There will be some people who don't know about it, I'm sure. Though of course it is international, but there'll be younger people who perhaps missed the main coverage, etc. There'll be people in other countries, like though I think even in other countries, because of the appearances on the Oprah Winfrey show and everywhere that they could, there's not many people who don't know about this case. But tell me what you think. Okay, so that's it. I try and keep my videos to about an hour. This is probably over an hour, but I will be doing a live stream again soon. As always, let me know what you think about things. any things you want to comment on about making live streams, about plans for the future, about cases, about going to places, to actually, you know, maybe see the scenes. I feel like I've got so many ideas and so little time to do it. So that's my hope, that's my goal. Release a couple of it, because I have the weekend, of course, that's when I do my videos. The rest of the time I'm working, but if I could release 2 days where I could devote more time to this channel, that would be fab. If you're enjoying it, I hope you're enjoying it. And you know, I enjoy it too, so thank you for listening to me ramble on. But also, yeah, it's I enjoy it. I do it because I enjoy it. I enjoy chatting, as you've probably realised, and I enjoy your feedback. Okay, so I will see you very soon in the next video, of course. Remember to always live and love carefully. If there's any developments on Little Bully, I will obviously come on and do a video. And until I see you again, may your God go with you. Thank you.